Everything you know about trucks is wrong. Forget the boring 18-wheelers you see today. We are uncovering the freaks of nature that history tried to forget. Imagine a truck with 2 engines, a tank hauler wider than a house, and a pickup that only has 3 wheels. These aren't sci-fi concepts. These are real mechanical monsters that actually roam the earth. From Germany's loophole giants to the strangest British inventions, we've ranked the 8 most bizarre vintage trucks ever built. The engineering is insane, and the stories are even crazier. You won't believe the final truck on this list even exists. Buckle up, hit that subscribe button right now, and let's dive into the weirdest machinery in history. Let's start our journey with something that might look vaguely familiar but is weirdly iconic in its own right: the International Metro Van. If you grew up in America in the 1950s, this wasn't just a truck. It was the bringer of joy. It was the milk truck, the bakery wagon, and the original delivery step van that roamed every neighborhood. Introduced in 1938, the Metro van was a radical departure from the blocky truck norms of the time. While other trucks were just crude cabs bolted onto frames, the Metro body was inspired by Art Deco design, looking like a streamlined loaf of bread on wheels. International Harvester designed this vehicle to literally replace the horse-drawn wagons that preceded it. The engineering behind it was surprisingly advanced for a work vehicle. It featured a unibody construction long before it became an industry standard, which maximized the interior cargo space relative to its footprint. This allowed for a cavernous storage area in a relatively compact vehicle, perfect for navigating tight city streets. The rounded corners weren't just for style, they helped maneuverability. However, the engine placement was the weird part. It was tucked inside the cabin between the driver and passenger seats, covered by a large metal hump that radiated immense heat. The driving experience was unique, to say the least. The Metro van was designed specifically so the driver could operate it while standing up or sitting on a folding seat. This was crucial for delivery drivers who had to jump in and out hundreds of times a day. While it is a nostalgic piece of Americana today, driving a Metro van by modern standards feels terrifying. You are essentially sitting right on the front bumper with almost no crash protection, surrounded by thin sheet metal. It's the cutest entry on our list, but as we move forward, the machines are about to get much tougher and significantly stranger. We are dialing the clock back to the chaotic, muddy trenches of World War I. Meet the FWD Model B. Now, FWD stands for four-wheel drive. That might sound standard today, but in 1912, that was practically alien technology. Before this truck, the idea of powering all 4 wheels on a heavy transport vehicle was considered unnecessary complexity. The Model B was a definitive ugly duckling of military history. It lacked almost all creature comforts. There was no windshield to protect you from bullets or rain, no doors, and certainly no heater. It was raw, exposed mechanical brutality designed for survival, not comfort. The layout of the Model B is what makes it so bizarre to modern eyes. The driver sat completely exposed to the elements, perched incredibly high above the engine on a flat wooden bench. The engine itself was actually located under the floorboards, directly beneath the driver's feet. This meant that if you needed to perform maintenance or fix a breakdown in the field, you were practically disassembling the cockpit floor. Despite its crude appearance, the engineering was robust. It used a full-time 4-wheel drive system with a lockable center differential, advanced technology that wouldn't become common in passenger cars for another 70 years. But here is why it's legendary. During the Great War, while standard rear-wheel drive trucks were sinking helplessly into the thick French mud, the Model B just kept moving. Its top speed was only about 15 miles per hour, but speed wasn't the point, traction was. Over 16,000 of these were built for the war effort, hauling ammunition and troops where horses couldn't go. They were slow, loud, and incredibly uncomfortable, but they proved once and for all that 4-driven wheels were superior to 2. It looks like a garden shed on wheels, but this machine literally helped win a war. Crossing the Atlantic to Great Britain, we find a truck that looks like it eats other trucks for breakfast, the Scammell constructor. If the Metro van was a loaf of bread, the constructor is a solid brick wall. Produced in the 1950s, this 6C6 heavyweight was designed for one thing: extreme haulage. We are talking about pulling loads of over 150 tons without breaking a sweat. The design is pure, unadulterated function. It has a bonnet that seems to stretch on for miles, housing massive diesel engines, typically from Rolls-Royce or Gardner, which were the gold standard of power. The sheer width of this thing is intimidating, taking up nearly the entire lane. It was designed as a prime mover for the heaviest industries, moving transformers, giant girders, and military hardware. The cab was Spartan, loud, and hot, vibrating with the raw power of the massive engine sitting just inches from the driver's legs. Visually, it is unmistakable due to its wide stance and the aggressive vertical grille bars. It represents a golden era of British heavy engineering where overbuilt was the standard operating procedure. Nothing on this truck is plastic. It is all heavy, thick steel. What makes the Scammell constructor so strange mechanically is its rear suspension setup. It utilized a unique walking beam bogie suspension. This allowed the rear wheels to articulate wildly over rough terrain, keeping the tires on the ground even when the truck was twisting over ditches or uneven construction sites. Watching a constructor move is like watching a dinosaur. It's slow, deliberate, and unstoppable. It doesn't have the speed of modern trucks, topping out at maybe 30 mph if you were brave, but the torque. The torque could probably move a mountain. It's a mechanical beast that demands respect. Now let's get weird. We are heading to Czechoslovakia to look at the Tatra 805. Fans of the brand affectionately call this truck the Kachenia, which translates to the duck. Why? Because of the comical way it waddles over terrain. But don't let the cute nickname fool you. This is one of the most capable off-road trucks ever built, utilizing engineering concepts that confuse even modern mechanics. Produced in the 1950s, the 805 was designed to go where no other vehicle could, serving as a military truck, an ambulance, and an expedition vehicle for explorers. The Tatra 805 uses a unique backbone chassis design, a trademark of the Tatra brand. Instead of a traditional ladder frame, the entire structure of the truck is a central tube that houses the drive shaft. This allows for independent swing axles. Here is the visual kicker. When you look at an 805 from the back when it is unladen, the wheels look like they are broken. They bow inwards with extreme positive camber. This isn't a defect, it's a feature. As the truck gets loaded down, the wheels flatten out, providing incredible traction and ground clearance that allows it to crawl over rocks and logs that would leave a Jeep high-centered. Powering this duck is another oddity, an air-cooled V8 engine. Yes, air-cooled. Just like a massive version of a Beetle engine displacing 2.5 liters. It produced a distinctive loud roaring sound that you could hear coming from miles away. The cabin is high and incredibly forward set, giving it a pug-nosed appearance. It looks top-heavy, it sounds like a thunderstorm, and its wheels bend in ways wheels shouldn't bend. But in the mud of Eastern Europe, the duck was king. It could hit speeds of about 45 to 50 mph on the road, but its true home was deep in the mud where its weird axles could shine. In post-war Germany, one truck reigned supreme on the Autobahn, the Krupp Titan. The name is not an exaggeration. Everything about this truck was colossal. In the early 1950s, the Allies had placed restrictions on the horsepower of German trucks to prevent them from building military-grade hardware, limiting new engines to 150 horsepower. But Krupp, being a giant of industry, found a bizarre and brilliant loophole to build the most powerful truck on the road. They wanted to dominate heavy transport, and they weren't going to let regulations stop them. Here is the engineering twist that makes the Titan legendary. It technically didn't have one large 6-cylinder engine. Instead, Krupp engineers took two separate 3-cylinder, 2-stroke diesel engines and bolted them together. They were connected by a gear drive to a common output shaft. This allowed Krupp to claim they were using smaller legal engines while actually delivering a massive combined 210 horsepower. This blew the competition away. The sound of this engine is legendary, a unique singing two-stroke diesel roar that is unlike anything else on the road, often described as a mechanical symphony. Visually, the Titan is a masterpiece of industrial design. The hood is excessively long to accommodate that complex twin-engine setup, emphasizing its power. The cabin is spacious, almost luxurious for the time, earning it the nickname the Highway Cruiser. It was capable of sustaining speeds of around 50 mph while hauling heavy trailers, which was fast for the 1950s. Today, seeing a Krupp Titan is a rare event, but the complexity of that twin-engine setup remains one of the strangest engineering workarounds in automotive history. It was a machine built to defy the rules and look good doing it. We are entering the monster tier now. Meet the Rotinoff Super Atlantic. If the Krupp Titan was a king, the Rotinoff is a god. Built in limited numbers in the late 1950s by a visionary named George Rotinoff, this vehicle was designed for one specific Herculean task: towing the British Army's Centurion tanks. The scale of this machine is difficult to comprehend until you see a person standing next to it. It is wider than a standard lane of traffic and stands tall enough to look down on semi-trucks. It wasn't built for commerce, it was built for brute force. Under the massive hood sat a supercharged Rolls-Royce diesel engine. This power plant guzzled fuel at a rate that would make a modern environmentalist faint, but it was necessary. The Super Atlantic was rated to pull gross train weights of over 100 tons. It utilized a heavy-duty gearbox and rear axles that looked like they belonged on a locomotive rather than a truck. The truck didn't just pull weight, it mastered it. The tires alone are massive, designed to carry extreme loads without bursting, and the chassis is reinforced steel thick enough to stop a bullet. The visual impact of the Rotinoff is hard to describe. It has a flat, brutalist front end with headlights that look tiny compared to the massive grille vents. The fenders are huge slabs of steel. Only about 35 of these monsters were ever built, making them incredibly rare today. To see one is to witness the peak of Cold War heavy hauling capability. It's big, it's bad, and it's undeniably bizarre in its excess. While other trucks struggled to move construction equipment, the Rotinoff was moving the weapons of war without breaking a sweat. At number 2, we have a machine that was so far ahead of its time it feels like it traveled back from the future. The Jeffery Quad, also known as the Nash Quad. Produced starting in 1913, over a century ago, this truck features technology that modern car companies brag about as new today: four-wheel steering. It was built in Wisconsin and became the workhorse of the Allied forces. While it looks like a simple flatbed wagon from a distance, underneath it was a complex dance of drive shafts, differentials, and universal joints that was revolutionary. Yes, you heard that right. The Jeffery Quad could steer with both its front and rear wheels simultaneously. This allowed the rear wheels to track exactly in the path of the front wheels. This was crucial on the muddy, rutted wagon trails of the early 20th century. If the front wheels made it through the mud, the rear wheels would follow in the same groove, preventing the truck from creating new drag and getting stuck. It also featured portal axles, gears inside the wheels, to give it massive ground clearance of over 14 inches, allowing it to drive over stumps and rocks. The performance was modest by today's standards, a top speed of maybe 15 to 20 mph, but its capability was unmatched. The wheels themselves were often solid rubber, meaning you never got a flat tire, but the ride would shatter your spine. It was the Cybertruck of 1913, weird, controversial, but undeniably capable. It proves that good ideas don't always stick around immediately, as four-wheel steering disappeared from trucks for decades afterwards. The Jeffery Quad remains a testament to early American ingenuity, solving problems with complex mechanical solutions. And finally, we have arrived at number 1. We've seen six-wheeled giants and tank pullers, but nothing is quite as baffling as the Reliant Ant. Just look at it. It's a pickup truck with 3 wheels. It looks like a toy that escaped from a factory. Produced in the UK starting in 1967, the Ant wasn't built because 3 wheels are better than 4. Absolutely not. The answer, as is often the case in automotive history, is taxes. In the UK, three-wheeled vehicles under a certain weight were taxed as motorcycles. Reliant, the company famous for the Robin, decided to apply this loophole logic to a work vehicle. The result is this bizarre triangular truck. It has a tiny 700cc or 850cc engine, producing barely enough power to merge onto a highway without praying. The payload was rated for about 800 to 1100 LEBs, which sounds decent until you realize the truck itself looks like it might tip over in a strong wind. The cabin is made of fiberglass, meaning if you hit something, the truck basically shatters. It was designed for light work in narrow European streets, but it looks utterly ridiculous. Driving the Ant requires a specific kind of bravery. Cornering is a terrifying experience due to the single front wheel. It is the absolute antithesis of everything a truck is supposed to be. It's not stable, it's not powerful, and it's not tough. Driving the Reliant Ant loaded with cargo felt less like driving a truck and more like balancing a wheelbarrow on a tightrope. And that is exactly why it is the weirdest, most bizarre truck to ever exist. It's a legal loophole on wheels that somehow survived into the modern world. From the massive Rotinoff to the tiny Reliant Ant, these 8 trucks prove that automotive history is full of wild surprises. It was a time when engineers took big risks to solve problems, creating machines with true character. Which one of these vintage oddities was your favorite? Would you dare to drive the three-wheeled Ant? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this ride through history, please hit like and subscribe for more amazing stories. Thanks for watching and see you next time.